am here with Aaron Schmautz with the Portland Police Association. Let's start off with that.
Sure.
Not only tell us what that is, because most people know what a police officer is, but don't know if it's the union or whatever it is, and then also wrap your origin story of how you got into this work.
Sure. So the Portland Police Association it's a rank and file union of our officers, detectives, sergeants, criminalists, non-sworn public safety support folks, and also dispatch. The rank and file and the supervisors in dispatch are members of our union. Mm-hmm. It is the oldest and most longest continuously running police union in the country. Reformed in 1942. And for us, our job really is just to make sure that we're representing our folks, that they have the support they need, but also that we're connecting with community. We're very community oriented. We want to make sure we're hearing. It's kind of the conduit between our members because they're out there doing the work in the community they serve. I was hired as a police officer in 2005. My dad was hired as a police officer in Portland when I was 4 months old. So I grew up over by Rose City Park Golf Course, and my childhood stories were hearing about the life of a patrol officer in Portland. Mm-hmm. He worked in Old North out in Kenton. It was his patrol district. Yeah. Really, I always wanted to be a police officer. My dad was my hero. I grew up just kind of watching him do his thing, and I got hired right out of college. I got hired when I was 21 years old, and this is the only job I've ever had, really, other than bagging groceries when I was in high school. So. Took over our union. I've been on our executive board since 2009. I got involved really early. I think, I'm kind of a unionist at heart. I think labor is really important. It's important for the working man to have, support, and so I got involved early, and then took over in the fall of 21.
Cool. Awesome. So for me, I've really been looking forward to this conversation because I think there's a ballot measure that we're going to talk about that I think is super important, but I want to frame it up. I have a strong conviction that the city of Portland has, and Portlanders have all been surveyed on this and all of this, but in a particular priority order of what to tackle. Number one by far is public safety, and that also includes reducing homelessness, all that stuff, which is very much community policing. And then the other two that we're not going to talk about now, but is in tax reform and as well as on the innovation and economic development side. So those are the three buckets. But the number one bucket, public safety, I think the whole country and Portlanders who are jaded are looking at hey, that's great that you're talking about it, but what are we actually doing from a policy standpoint that will move the needle?
Right.
And so talk to us about what this new measure is. We haven't been able to talk about it until now because of the process in which we're now at the, we got to get 40,000 signatures to get it on the ballot, which shouldn't be that hard to do. But why is it so important, and why is Portland so behind in having enough officers on our streets to do community policing?
Yeah, so I'm going to start with the end there because that kind of frames the conversation. Policing in Portland has been really significantly underfunded for a long time. Yeah. When I got hired in 2005, we had 1,057 police officers in Portland. Now, 22-ish years later, we have 818 today, and it's going to be 770 in a few weeks when we have a bunch of retirements. This is the state of being, right? We have 1.3-ish per thousand. You compare us around the country, the national average or the recommended average around 2.5 per thousand.
We're one of the worst, right?
We are 48th out of 50 states, or major cities. So, and again, what has been the real challenge for me though, forever, is defining what policing looks like in Portland. Long waits for 911, long waits for the police to show up. But there's been this kind of conversation around whether or not community policing is something that we want to invest in. Mm-hmm. All of our issues where we're struggling as a city are capacity issues, in human capacity. And also, our most vulnerable are suffering in so many levels, and a lot of that has to do with lack of access to services and resources. But our police are the ones who get called and show up to these things the most. Right. And so there really has been this real kind of constant ebb and flow of what do we want police to do? What do we want those relationships to look like? A lot of the budget cuts we've seen have been around places within policing where community and police interact, because some of the national narrative around policing and some of the concerns about accountability, the solution has been to take police away from community, which I actually think is the antithesis of what actually solves the problem. Our police, when we're policing well, they have the time to get there quickly and then also provide outcomes, but also crime victims need to be the focus, and vulnerable people need to be the focus of everything we do. You imagine if you are a mother who wakes up in the morning to get your kids ready for school and you walk out and your car's gone. When we don't have the capacity to get there quickly, you can't even get your day started, you can't file a report, you can't get insurance going, you can't get a rental car. If you're a shop owner and you have someone who's broken into your place, like those kinds of things, these human interest kind of real stories, those things matter. But even more, safe cities, if you just go around the country, there's always kind of those visual checkpoints. I know where the police are, I know if I need them, they're gonna be there. And we've just seen this real diminishment of patrol visibility, and just flying the flag and being available in connection, not only with law enforcement, but individual officers. My dad and I both, when we were newer in our jobs, I knew the shop owners. I knew, even when you had someone who had a family member who's arrested, but they're still at home and they have kids and they affording diapers and navigating the world. I knew those families, and you knew how to get them the services they need. And that's what I think we're missing. And really, the thesis behind the ballot measure is we need real, an actual statement about the value placed in policing and in those kind of relationships, and do it in a way that allows for longitudinal growth towards a set goal, which for us is 1,200 police officers, 400 more police officers to get us to 2.0 per thousand, so that Portlanders have faith in that their public safety system will grow to an actual target and then stay there instead of this constant back and forth in funding.
And so the money comes, so there's no new taxes to this. It's using existing pool of money that's not being put to use, basically, called Portland Clean Energy Fund. What are the objections? It seems like if all Portlanders are saying, our number one thing is to, have more public safety and to have community policing to take unsheltered folks to the shelter before they take them to jail or anything like that. Why would anyone push back on that?
So, the Clean Energy Fund was born out of, I think, a real significant frustration in underserved and also communities of color around the city's lack of financing and funding and support for their needs, opportunity growth, and also for real climate concerns. And so the original plan was 30 to 50 million. That's what the original ballot was, 30 to 50 million, using sales in Portland in big box stores, imagine like a Best Buy or a Home Depot, sales in Portland, to provide for those things, for climate initiatives and for jobs and growth in those communities that need it most. And so we don't want to touch that. We don't want to impact that original plan at all. But good or bad, that program has significantly outperformed its original goal.
Close to 200 million.
200 million, about 180 to 200 million a year, and there's about 750 million in just money sitting in the bank. And for the last several years, the city has been using that money for a lot of things. They've been using the interest to pay down costs. It's been, you start to see where the money, all over the place. People are looking to use that surplus. And kind of fortuitously, as we were looking at how do we provide this service, because again, it's very clear that Portlanders don't want another tax. Other cities do levies or other things, and simply, I just don't want to do that. I don't want to ask Portlanders for more. I just want to provide better service. And so the governor put out a task force report that said we do have this surplus, and voters ought to have a say in how that money is used. And so, we're not looking to impact the original plan. That should and will continue. We're looking to take advantage of some of that surplus to provide further service, really honestly, for those same communities, in addition to the whole of Portland, that original plan demanded.
Okay, that makes sense. So I think most Portlanders kind of find out like last minute,
Yep.
End of October, oh, there's this important thing happening, and then they're like, go to the ballot and like, I don't know what to do, So we're trying to get ahead of that. And so how, like in May, if someone wanted to get involved and they're like, hey, I like this idea, or like, man, I have all these objections, like how can they get involved?
So this effort has been really community-led. We've really been engaging with a lot of different community groups. We want to make sure that, again, we're not harming anyone in the effort to help people. We have already set up a team of community members and kind of community leaders. We're going to have a website that I'll give you that's going to be kind of a landing page. We're hiring a bunch of folks to get out into community to interact with people. We're going to be doing a lot of community education around why we got where we did, why we're doing what we're doing, and why we think it's a real benefit to Portland in the long run. So again, that landing page it's going to be staffed. We're hiring people to, and by we I mean the group. This is not like the Portland Police Association is involved. But this isn't just us. This was born out of a conversation with community, and the effort's being led by community. But there will be that landing page, and we're going to have a lot of opportunities for volunteer work, a lot of opportunities for education, and our goal is that this discussion takes place so that when we get to October, that there's no questions that are unanswered.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks, Aaron.
Yeah,
Really appreciate it. All right, cheers.